Good evening, Fernwood. It's your TV pal Neil, and it's time for some more late night variety madness with another episode of Fernwood Tonight. If you are just seeing my face for the first time, this is a reaction show where we watch the show together and then we talk about it afterward, because talking to other people might make you feel less lonely. And if that sounds like it's your bag, then please stick around. Also, if you're a viewer who feels like you have the need or the want or the maybe hope of supporting a channel, then please check out our Patreon, where you get early access to episodes, you get monthly updates, and other things when I deem it fit. Cool. Today we are watching episode 42 from August 30th, 1977. Yesterday, the Mirth Makers were on strike, so let's look back. And yes, there is no mirth at WZAZ on Channel 6, as Barth points out that Happy Kind by himself sounds kind of thin. He then goes on a monologue telling us about show people and how there's no people like them, and then we bring out local punk band 15 and Free, who make quite an impression on Barth and Jerry. Jerry, in fact, thinks that punk rock is dumb and that they should go back to classic songwriting like Please, 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 Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. But the duo make a further impression since they are making lots of money. 15 and Free bring us back from the commercial break with Happy Kind, and then we bring on Mr. Dwayne Goff, who has written a book called Behind Hollywood, filled with facts based on theories like there is no person that is actually Sammy Davis Jr. Then Barth introduces Ray Sawchuk, the assistant coroner, for a public service announcement. It seems that there's a corpse in the morgue that cannot be identified, so they're going to bring it on to help get some clues about who this person might be. Of course, in order to respect the dignity of the body, they've disguised it, and Barth points out that the corpse is wearing a very nice watch, and further that his tie does some really neat things. Barth fields some calls from the home audience, and that leads to a conversation about how the Packers will do in the next season, and since they weren't able to get a name during the segment, they put up a Name That Body card. And that's all we saw yesterday, so let's keep going.
Tonight from Fernwood, Fernwood Tonight, 30 minutes of very remarkable entertainment, coming to you nearly live with your host for tonight, Mr. Barth Kimball. Tonight, Barth's guest will be Edward Bailey and his Flying Hamburgers, Dr. Harlan Washburn, a black man who certainly doesn't live here, and also baby Irene, who looks like a midget, but is actually young, and Happy Kind, and the return of the Mirth Makers. And me, I'm Jerry Hubbard. And now here's your host of mine, Mr. Barth Kimball.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you and good evening. And welcome to Fernwood Tonight. I'm Barth Kimball. Oh, thank you. Thank you. As I said, I'm Barth Kimball. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. No. You know, today I was reading the Fernwood Courier, and I came across an article about something that, as usual, happened 3 months ago. And it seems that a late-night talk show host who uses the name of Bob Snyder, or something like that.
That's Tom Schneider.
Tom Snyder, okay. Tom Snyder, late-night talk show host. It's an easy name to make a mistake on. Anyway, this Snyder guy, apparently he was in the Fernwood area and saw an edition of Fernwood Tonight, and I don't know, maybe he got a tape somewhere. You know, these pirate cassettes are a kind of a growing problem. We'll be tackling them some night. Hope so. Anyway, he saw fit to use some of the valuable network time that they give him to talk about our show, and I must say, it was really none too flattering. For those of us who were around during World War II or saw the tragedy of Vietnam firsthand on TV, I think just the sound of the word bomb is distasteful in whatever context. Although I do not deny Mr. Snyder the right to use it. He must have his particular axe to grind or chip on his shoulder, though. I'm sure it's no picnic being so much older than I am, and yet... and still having to settle for a time slot some 2 hours later than this one. Oh, it's not just the humiliation, but at his age, the strain of staying up. Mr. Snyder, I think, is one of those people who needs a full 60 minutes to prove that even interesting people can become dull after repeated questioning. A dullness that could be relieved so easily by a musical number if the man would just shell out a couple of bucks for a band, which he doesn't. Of course, we have one. I wouldn't think a man who appears to have an unlimited wardrobe budget for jumpsuits would have to stoop to attacking the competition to draw an audience, but that's the way it is, I guess. I wouldn't be quite so quick to answer Mr. Snyder if he were a struggling unknown, but let's face it, he's a struggling known. And again, let's face it, as long as there's a nude therapist and an open mic, he'll never go hungry. He kind of feeds on it.
Yeah, I think you struck a sensitive spot there, Bart.
Well,
maybe Mr. Snyder is looking for a public feud.
Well, I certainly hope not, because if he wants a feud, he's not going to get one here. Better luck with Phil Donahue.
Oh.
Show. Try that. We have a wonderful program tonight. Wish I knew what it was. It's kind of a mystery to me, but we'll be doing it any minute now. Oh, actually, Happy, why don't you come over here and we'll start the show later. That's great. When you feel that sense of vacancy there, it's always good to know that Happy's here to fill that vacancy. That's right. That's great. I bet you're kind of glad your musician strike is over and the guys are back, aren't you, Happy?
Boy, I sure am. You know, without the mirth makers, Happy Kine is just a man who owns a restaurant and a dental franchise and doesn't need all this aggravation that these guys bring me.
Hey, lighten up, fellas.
That's right.
Happy, we're only striking, though, to improve their own lot in life. They're just like anyone else, basically.
No, musicians are an entirely different breed.
Really?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've been with them. I've been with musicians just for so many years, and I just know them inside out. You know, I know their ups, their downs, their smiles, their frowns.
Must be like second nature to you now.
Like breathing out and breathing in.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't need to do this. I mean, I'm an independent businessman, you know, but I do this garbage because it's in me, you know, and I love it.
How you feel, yeah. Speaking of garbage, Happy does own and operate the Bun and Run restaurant here in town. And, you've all been there?
Little plug never hurt business, did it, Hal?
You talk about garbage. You guys are really upfront about your garbage, though. I have to admit that.
Up front, Bart? No,
Yeah.
we have the garbage in the back. You must come to the front of the place.
You know, who does your publicity there, your advertising man? Should be spoken to. I'm speaking about the sign in the window of your Bun and Run, which says you can't keep a good burger down. I think maybe if you rephrased it a little, I noticed a lot of people came up and looked at it and turned and went away. Just a word to the wise. It's your business.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. You know, I didn't read that sign,
You're
really.
the funniest things down there. Somebody said, hey, Hap, this coffee tastes like mud. And you were so quick. And he said, hey, it was ground this morning. Anyway, our next guest was discovered by Happy here himself down at the Bun and Run. Can you tell me a little bit about what he does, Happy?
Well, his name is Edward Bailey, and he's a bun stuffer down at the restaurant. But while he was there, he learned to juggle hamburgers, and believe me, he does it with a new wrinkle. And believe you me, this guy is a crowd pleaser. Oh, he's great.
Well, great. I guess if we can call this a crowd, we're going to have to call him a crowd pleaser, and we certainly have a crowd to please. So, let's bring out Mr. Edward Bailey and his burgers. Mr. Bailey.
My guys.
Have a seat here.
Hey. The only disadvantage of this act, he has to eat those darn things. It's better than dropping one on your toe, though, huh, Hap?
Trying to figure out which is worse here, talking with your mouth full or your head empty. Did you come up with this thing yourself, this whole idea?
No, as a matter of fact, I've seen it done by many other people before.
Oh, you heard it here first. And that's all you'll hear. We'll be right back after these words. Thank you, Happy. My next guest is from Porter City. He's a director of the Washburn Foundation for Equal Education. It's a pretty wonderful thing to be involved with.
It sure is.
Absolutely.
In this day and age.
Absolutely. Please welcome Professor Harlan Washburn. What a treat.
Yes, it is. You know, I have to pause here to make a comment and an observation. Your name is Harlem. Harlem is the name of a section of New York City where black people live. And here you are yourself a black individual. That's sort of a coincidence, almost a Ripley's Believe It or Not bit.
Yes, my name is Harlan. That's with an N.
Harlan. Harlan is, I'm so embarrassed. All these years I've been pronouncing it a Harlem. My apologies, and it just shows how little we Americans know of your history and background.
Harlan. Okay. Doctor, what exactly is the Washburn Foundation all about?
Well, boys, you see, my father was the grandson of a slave.
Oh, boy.
And he was the first member of our family to get an education. And he made a small fortune in industry.
That's great.
And it was his lifelong dream to build a school where both blacks and whites could be together, go to school together,
sure,
in a manner that was free and just. You see, all the children, both blacks and whites, would be on one huge central campus. Mm-hmm. That's with the finest teachers, the finest faculties, all located in one central place.
Fantastic.
Here's an artist's rendering of a proposed complex.
Okay.
Let me move this out of the way.
Okay, if we can get that in there. Are we getting that on? Let's move it a little bit over here. You getting that on 3 there? Okay, fine. Now, wait a minute. Dr. Washburn. This looks exactly like one of those old southern mansions on the plantations we're trying to...
Well, again, you're right, boy. You see, the symbolism is important here because it was on plantations such as this that this whole problem of racial injustice started.
True.
So, with the black children studying and the white children studying in a building like this, we'll all be going back to our roots. Then we can start all over again.
Wonderful idea. That's terrific. So back and do it right this time.
And if I may make another interjection here, speaking of that, you people must have such a history and so many stories about growing up on the plantations and the social injustice and being brought over to this country as slaves that someone should write a book.
Jerry. They did.
They did?
They did. It was a bestseller, and they made a television movie. It was on a couple of nights in a row. And everything. Gone with the Wind.
I know. Not much of a reader.
That's great.
You see, inside this building would be your classes devoted to mathematics, physics, English literature, and etc. And on this side, over here would be 6 basketball courts.
Okay, so according to your plan, then blacks and whites would study together in unison under this one roof here. That's great.
Not exactly. You see, this is where the black children study. And these...
Overlay here.
These are the white classrooms. See, they're together. The races are together, yet separate. See, and in this way, we'll satisfy the Supreme Court without running the risk of having one of our brothers marry one of your sisters.
That's a good point. It's true, but correct me if I'm wrong again, but you people do not object if one of your brothers marries a black sister.
It's all right, yeah.
Very quite obvious in your family is perfectly okay for one of your own brothers to marry one of your own sisters. That might explain a great deal of it.
Gets rid of those mother-in-law and father-in-law problems.
Yeah. Say, hey, your mother, you know, was
That's
over
right.
because it's both of your mothers, I'm sure, in your grandmother's case. Doctor, I'm sure that if you can pull this off, it's going to be remembered as one of the greatest feats in education. But I'm also afraid that these feats are failing me right now. How on earth can you claim that this is fair to the white children?
You see, in my school, all the children will get a chance to learn things they never had an opportunity to learn before.
Mm-hmm.
The black children will get top-notch instructions in things like reading, writing, arithmetic.
Mm-hmm.
Each black child will actually see and handle books. They'll have their own pens, their own pencils, and they'll even get a decent lunch, too.
Well, that gets my blessing. I'm all for that. And what, while this is going on, what will the white kids be doing in these little shacks here?
Well, see, the white kids, they can learn things that they were sheltered from in the past. We'll have classes in fundamental agriculture. That's how to plant things, how to pick things, how to tie things up in bales, and how to handle the barnyard animals, too.
So what we're saying is, this is the home of the 3 R's, and this will be the 4-H out here with the white kids out there in the barnyard. By means of separating it like that, I don't understand, how can the white kids learn anything that will help them get a job in the big city, which seems to be what's happening today?
Well, you know, Barth, we have excellent training in the faculty of auto mechanics and body work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, we'll have a special department of shoe shine and car work. And over here is the Center for Baggage Handling.
Yeah.
And for the white kid who is especially polite, we'll have night courses in butlery and portering.
Doctor.
And from what I understand, it's hard to get good help lately, too.
It is.
There's always a need for that.
Here's where you look for it.
Not to mention those car washes, which are going sky high.
Doctor, it's abundantly clear what you're trying to do here. It is, at least to me and anyone else who's thinking. It's the old switcheroo. I mean, do the white children ever get to go into the big building there?
Oh, yes, of course. That's where we teach home economics.
All right, there.
Yes, we'll have special classes on how to serve dinner without breaking or stealing something.
Okay, I have to ask, what about the white child? Not interested in learning these trades. He wants to go into the arts. He's young, he's gifted, and he wants to do something creative. What does he do?
No problem. You see, this building here is devoted to teaching the white children the fine arts.
Okay.
That's harmonica playing, banjo playing, singing the blues, and tap dancing. You see, these are skills that might come in handy when they grow up and need to earn some extra money while they're on welfare.
Well, Dr. Washburn, I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you very, very much for coming around here and telling us about your ingenious and outrageous plan for educating our youth. I hope you also have an ingenious and outrageous plan for getting out of town in one piece. I would possibly suggest just getting in a large cardboard carton and undressing yourself home and being mailed at night, because I think there's going to be some irate people out there. Okay? Well, whatever. Best of luck. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Next on Nova.
Barry, I really think you have a nice voice, but it's a little over length.
Oh,
No, thank you. I agree. I do have a kind of nice voice. I don't mean to sound egotistical. I'm not an egotistical person. I will say I'm a bright guy and a gifted talent, but when I was born, the man up there did not tap me with the old ego wand.
Maybe out of embarrassment.
No, but in all humility, I have my father's voice, which is a good thing. If I had my mother's voice, I'd sound like this. Hello, I'm Jerry Hubbard.
have a nice voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the only thing is that you have bad breath control.
Oh. What's a good remedy for that?
Scope.
Oh! As Mr. Washburn would say, well, shut my mouth. No, seriously,
What did I could?
seriously, I do have my dad's voice, and I have my mother's eyes. These are my mom's eyes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's nice that your family shares like that.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that singing thing.
I did?
Oh, yeah. Yes, you did. I have a good memory. I have my grandmother's memory.
Yeah, I think it was so long ago I just forgot.
Oh, yeah. No. I have my grandmother's memory, which is okay. She's dead, and she doesn't need it anymore. But, you know, I used to sing here on TV. Have you remember when I had my morning show, Jerry's Morning Show?
Probably regular coffee and was over in an instant.
Well, my good coffee had kept people awake. I'll tell you this. I start off the show, if you remember, Hap, you don't know about this, but you were in the midst of all that trouble down in Miami. But I had... with a hymn, a bit serious, if you can picture me being serioso. But then we have a little bit of news. How many remember? We had a little bit of news, and I'd have my news analysis. Then we'd have some, yes. And we had kind of an important interview, and those, a lot of people remember those. Then we wrapped the whole package up with a Three Stooges film. I'm not talking about the ones with Curly now. I'm talking about the ones with Shemp.
Well, I remember that show. I always hated it.
How's that gum? Good. We'll be right back after these words. Thank you, Hap. We're back. Surprise visitor here, a little guest that came by. You may recall from an earlier show in the year. Baby Irene was with us, sang, what is it, from Annie Oakley. I didn't know the gun was loaded. Fabulous little number. And since she's only 5 years old, we can't really put her in the unions, can't really pay her, so we promised her instead of pay that she could have the sandwich of her choice here in our cafeteria. By the time we finished the show last time, since we're on so late, you know, Mom wanted to get her home. So we invited her back to have that sandwich, and she did. I figured, well, if that's all it costs, we're going to have her back on again. So here she is, little baby Irene. Can we have a hand?
How old are you?
5.
Oh, you really are 5? You don't lie about your age the way some ladies do?
She must take great care of herself, though. Look at that skin.
Really?
Well, you've got to in this business when so many people carouse and the wild parties and alcohol and staying out till all hours, it pays off.
Well, she's got legs on her like a 3-year-old. So why don't you show us what your granny really taught you and get up and sing a little song for us? What are you going to sing for us? Will you tell us?
Animal crackers.
All right.
Animal crackers. Same thing you had to remember.
Animal crackers in my soup. And rabbits loop-da-loop. Like so tree, but I have fun. Swallowing animals one by one. Tigers watching me. I make
Time we have tonight, we're just about out of time. Sorry, we don't have any more time. That's just about it for tonight. So I want to thank
I get pulled up to
gentlemen.
that one.
That's it. You were wonderful.
Also appearing on tonight's show were Edward Jackman as Edward Bailey, Mel Bryant as Dr. Harlan Washburn, and Georgie Irene as Baby Irene.
Yeah, we went some places today, didn't we? We start with the return of the mirth makers, and we don't really explain how the strike ends. They're just back. And here it seems like Barth has gotten some criticism from Tom Schneider, or Dan Snyder, I think his name is. And it looks like Tom has made some disparaging comments about Fernwood Tonight, and Barth snaps back at that. Then Happy Kind comes down to join the couch to talk about how horrible musicians are. And then we introduce Edward Bailey, who has a juggling act where he juggles some burgers more or less successfully. Next up is guest Harlan Washburn, or as Jerry thinks it might be Harlem Washburn, or maybe he's not quite sure what anything is as far as Black history is concerned. Harlan has an idea of an integrated school that has both black students and white students. I mean, there's no accounting for people of different races, but that's where we are. And I guess we are really just turning the history of slavery on its head here in a way that, I appreciate Harlan's creativity here with giving full educations that include things like books to all of the black students, while the white students learn very different skill sets. Then we have a little bit more rapping with Happy as we question Jerry's whole familial structure, and we close out the show with another visit from baby Irene, who was with us in the first week of the series. Of course, baby Irene has that kind of Shirley Temple-ish vibe, but in a Gong Show way. And that's really all there is to this episode as far as the overview, so, let's go to our topic of the week, which is shows that are politically incorrect in the more modern era. Yesterday we talked about Minority Team, and today I thought I'd address a juggernaut of incorrect political stuff, and that is South Park. And maybe South Park doesn't need a lot of describing for a modern day audience, but it is ubiquitous. It has been on the air for 25 seasons at the time of this recording, which is to say that it has lasted a long time. And I remember before it was South Park, when it was just a small clip of these kids doing Christmas stuff. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. This show has been completely irreverent and highly politically incorrect for its whole run. And when people suggest that we can't get away with political incorrectness like we did in the 1970s, I feel the need to point out the longevity of South Park. So that is what we've got to say about the topic of the week. That's what we've got to share about the episodes. Thank you so much for watching with me. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions in the comments. Thank you to my top tier Patreon supporters, because you lift me up. We will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.